right, everybody. This is the commentary track for Violet Night. This is director Tommy Wirkola.
Woo!
And with me, I have...
Josh Miller, co-writer.
I'm Pat Casey, other co-writer.
Guy Danella, producer.
And we'll guide you through this thing. I mean, we were just discussing. I'm not sure how many people still listen to these things.
Yeah.
But if you do...
Everyone's going to listen to this commentary.
Yeah. If you listen to this, please email Guy Danella and confirm that you've listened to this.
Guy, do you want to put your email on here?
I would love to.
If you'd like to
yeah.
dox Guy Danella.
So the movie was shot in Winnipeg, Canada. Super cold. And this opening scene was actually the first thing we shot. And that's not normal. Normally you do a scene in the middle of the movie just to get things going and get the actors warm. But for scheduling reason, we did this first. Pat and Josh, I think you said that this was not the original opening, right?
Yeah, when we pitched it was always the original opening in the script, but when we pitched it, it was going to begin at the North Pole, and then kind of when we were getting sent off to scripts.
Like, the studio had basically only had two notes, which was A, go hard on the ridiculous violence, and B, let's avoid showing the North Pole because it'll be too expensive. But then we thought of this bar scene, and we were actually this.
Yeah, we
this
thought it
is
was actually
better.
superior.
Yeah.
Hopefully in a franchise.
Because it's got like a nice little arc to it just
Yeah,
to
it's
begin
a
with,
good way
where
to
it's
lead
like,
us in.
what's his deal? And then the twist at the end where it's like, it is the real Santa and he's ridiculous all at once.
Also, I'll say that this scene is Bristol, England. When we were writing the scene, I emailed my friend Paul, who lives in London, and I was just like, what would you say is the New Jersey of England? And he responded, Bristol. I don't know if that's true or not.
So shout out to Bristol.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I seem to remember we did some research also about what place could have snow in England. And this could have snow because you see it on the rooftop, obviously, on the opening here. So
Yeah,
this is
here,
actually very authentic.
Yeah, time zone wise too. We were like, he just delivered in England, having a drink.
Our actor playing the mall Santa has played Santa several times in other Canadian films. Well, Fun fact.
And is he affecting a British accent, or is he actually, does that...
He
how it
is
really
no,
talks?
he's just a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good for him.
And the bartender is actually a dialect coach as well as an actor.
Yeah.
Junkies. They're little shits. They just demand. They don't believe. They just want, crave, consume.
This is one of the scenes we play the most with in the edit. It was much longer originally, and it was a lot about getting the right rhythm and how long we stay there on him. And we want to set the mood on
Yeah.
David here.
Well, I also remember
Get
that
those
being
themes out there, Santa.
Yeah. Well, I remember that being part of what really drew you in, Tommy, was the themes and getting that out of the consumerism too, and Santa feeling a bit lost and losing his belief amongst with the rise of Amazon, etc.
Presents aren't going to deliver themselves.
We definitely part of the idea of this was the whole movie was to just make it a full-on Christmas movie, but also like a full-on action movie. So he's also, the grizzled detective who's just over it. Like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this anymore? It's like the original opening was him like getting up out of bed, seeing like how sore and like stretching, like Will Smith getting up at the beginning of I, Robot or whatever, that kind of action movie thing.
Oh, it was so cold on this roof. We had a good crisp minus 30 degrees Celsius for most of these nights.
I mean, while we were in town, Josh and I were here for the first couple of weeks of filming after you guys did this scene, though. But it was like highs of -20. It was like -20 at noon, like the whole time
windy.
we were there. It was
Negative
crazy.
20 Fahrenheit.
Oh, here, our first big CG shot.
We got Tommy's from Norway, Pat and I are from Minnesota, and I feel like Winnipeg is cold, even for us.
And I'm from Boston.
But yeah,
not
people
remotely
from
cold.
California wouldn't have been able to make this movie. They would have died.
Yeah.
So here comes the big first laugh of the film, hopefully.
Oh,
So originally in the script, the puke, it lands at her feet. So we did a lot of takes on that, but we thought, hey, we got to throw it in her face. Yeah. And one time at least.
I think you made the right decision.
Yeah.
we said we warmed up the puke. They had the little hot plate up there to make sure it was nice and
You got to get that steam. That's what
Yeah.
really sells it.
I love the idea of someone being on, like, puke cooking duty for that day.
It's an
Or
art.
like have it on like the, what do you call it? The sterno.
Well, we actually shot this as a camera test day. This was basically a day zero.
You are right. This is not the bar was not. This was the first day, but this was a half a day, and it was not an official shooting day.
And we shot that zipper revealing that gift about 40 times. I remember that
not
like
40.
wanted to lose my mind.
I never ever shot everything 40 times. So that's not correct.
That was your Stanley Kubrick
That was an
moment.
exaggeration, correct. 20.
Zipper's not right.
Leia Brady
And Alexis Louder,
and Alex Hassel.
our little family, and this was obviously vital to the movie to get this dynamic right, and this, and of course Santa and the little girl later on is the heart of the movie. So we found the right guys for that.
It was so funny.
I think this is one of Leia's, might be her first real big role in a film, but that was just open casting tapes, too. And Alex is actually a British actor playing American.
Yeah.
How dare he? Part should have gone to an American.
This is one of those scenes where the first cut was probably over a minute. It was like, yeah, it was a very nice conversation, but at one point you got to keep things moving. But he's actually a really good actor playing Al here.
Yeah.
And when we tested it, not to spoil it yet, but he might die later on. But a lot of people got upset that he died. That's you know,
I mean,
kudos
we're
to the actor.
supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this was Lager, right? Because it was setting up a thing with his hat that.
But also then
getting
later got cut.
Mistletoe and
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah,
That
like,
becomes a very long.
that
There
was
was a new
intentional.
bad guy that lived in that shack multiple times and took it out.
but we wanted to make Al very likable so that you would be sad when he died.
I got to mention this because there was two things we couldn't find in Winnipeg: mansions and hills.
And reindeer, three things.
Yeah, reindeer. Yeah, sorry. And so this is a CGI. I mean, the house is
Oh,
there, but
they're the writers.
Oh yeah, that was a cameo.
there's a cameo carrying that Christmas gag. And on screen now, Andre Eriksson, ex-rapper, musician
He's
from Norway.
ex-rapper?
He was one of the first rappers in Norway. They were called Warlocks. Him and his brother, one more guy. Big. They were big.
What?
Yeah,
And he
no,
was a
we're
big
gonna have
break
to
dancer.
Oh my god.
look this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get out of here.
All right, we need to stop doing the commentary. Go on YouTube.
So everybody go check out Warlocks, Norwegian rap group.
You are the worst catering company on the planet. It's
I have to say, and Guy always thinks this is funny, but I did a white lie to get Andre into the film because he lived in LA, and obviously you want to cast as many locals as possible, or got stunt performers. So I said I really want Andre in, and we got a little pushback. I said, well, Andre also does his own stunts. So yeah, okay, well I guess we can bring him over.
And I told the studio, and then he ended up doing all his own stunts, which
But remember that first day when he was supposed to
Yes.
drop back, or not,
Correct.
one of his first stunts?
yeah.
Just fall back flat on the floor. He's like, I'm doing this?
I like to, I hope
You did not tell him your
No,
scheme.
I did
no.
not.
I hope that this just has set him down a different path of his career where he keeps getting like called in for parts and he's like, wow. And then he gets there and they're like, can you do all your own
Yeah,
stunts?
we heard
right?
you do your own stuff.
Now
There's a
Scott
car.
Adkins is going to kick you in the face as hard as he can.
Drive this car off the cliff.
Hi, Linda.
Edie Patterson.
So Edie is obviously very funny. She's in Righteous Gemstones, and she's so amazing with coming up with funny lines and gags and bits on stage. I mean, she was the one that probably got all the other actors laughing all the time.
And the crew laughing.
Yeah.
Like we ruined several takes just due to her hilarity.
And I gotta tell you, Jason, that I'm gunning for your ass.
Funny too, because I feel like even as writers for things like The Family, which is these big group of small parts, in our minds you're always kind of like, yeah, and you'll just cast some funny like improv actors and they'll tweak all their dialogue to make it better.
But remember, in the script, when I came on board as well, there was two or three more family members. So we just
Yeah, the
compressed them
family
a lot.
was bigger.
Jewel, I remember there was Jewel.
Jewel and the other
Tad, poor
yeah.
Tad, R.I.P.
And there was two. No, wait.
More kids, maybe?
No, sorry. At one point, we had cut Bert, remember?
Yeah.
Then we brought Bert back.
Guy
Bert was
very
originally 10.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I would not let Bert go. I had a
upset.
really
I liked
hard
the
time.
Bert Locker joke.
Well, you remember Bert, my
There he is, Bert.
That actor's great too.
Alexander Elliott.
That playing live on Christmas Eve. Hashtag blessed.
He just got what I can only assume will be his first of many sexual harassment accusations. Mom paid off the school. Now the gymnasium is named after her.
Dark joke, but funny.
Realistic.
Cam.
I was on one of those planes.
I like to think that Bert, it was more just kind of like something horrible he said rather than sexual assault. So
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah. I love the sound designers when he does his little karate kick. They put a little creak in.
I
his
just
scene.
heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He might actually be a decent actor.
And Cam hadn't really done comedy before, but
My sister
he's like a fish to water. He did fantastic. And again, he and Edie had a great chemistry and really played off each other well.
He did a really funny audition. Remember, Cam?
Oh, yeah, he had the big ugly Christmas sweater on in front of the fire. too.
Oh yeah. I feel like at times wasn't it bandied about the idea of maybe casting someone to play themselves for that
Yeah.
part? I don't know how seriously that was ever taken though.
I don't even remember.
Oh, we can hang back. Yeah. Trudy, honey.
I mean, well, we should mention in the back there.
Yeah. Mitra Suri, who's actually is a very high-level stunt performer, but then we kind of cast her both. And it's a big break for her on the acting side, but as well as you'll see her kicking a whole bunch of ass as Candy Cane. But
Yeah.
she's great.
I mean-
I had a blast.
Her and Andre as a duo are like one of my favorite things about this movie. Just the candy cane gingerbread.
Yeah, and our
Bad
costume
guy
designer,
axes.
Laura DeLuca, did such a great job making these signature costumes for all the bad guys.
Go, man.
No angle. I'm not doing anything.
And of course, going back and forth, swearing a lot is Beverly D'Angelo. One of the times I laughed the most during this whole production was when we did her ADR, and we just told her, all right, just go off swearing, just say a lot of crazy stuff. And she really had a lot of good expressions in there. But it was so fun casting her. One of my favorite Christmas movies is Christmas Vacation. I always watch that every Christmas. It plays the same time every year on Norwegian television.
Okay.
And she's obviously so funny, and I think she
I
also
mean, it's an
loved,
all-time Christmas classic for sure. One of
Oh,
my
yeah.
most rewatched Christmas movies.
she also loved playing a character like this.
That
I actually didn't
Bertrude
realize
line.
until recently that John Hughes wrote Christmas Vacation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was
He
news to
was
me.
like a machine.
Yeah. No, but yeah, that
churned out
Bertrude
movies.
joke.
always knew
That was another one that we were a little surprised that nobody ever told us to take it out.
Which one?
Just that his name's Bertrude.
It was great. It always got huge laughs, too.
It's so stupid.
A little bit.
Way back there.
Merry Christmas, Grandma!
Oh, little Gertrude. And how was my favorite granddaughter?
Everybody calls me.
I'm just like looking at that train going around the tree. She never actually rides the train.
No, that was
Right?
We
But
tried it once. It didn't
Yeah,
go
It
too
did. It was a very slow train. It always read nice in the script, but
Yeah.
then
Or
in
there was
execution
a
did not
scene where
work.
She escapes the room once the mercenaries are there, and she utilized the train to kind of disappear behind the tree.
I do remember we had a train in episode of 12 Deadly Days, our like Christmas horror series we did.
Also
with
didn't work.
Blumhouse. But yeah, that train, like when you ran it, it was like the loudest thing ever and moved super slow.
Well,
Terrible.
I think this montage was one of the last things you put in the script, wasn't it? It wasn't in the original.
Well, it kept coming in and out. And then I
Yes, it
think
literally
finally,
kept coming in and out several times.
Yeah, one of you guys.
There was Santa shotgunning a beer.
Well, we'll cut it out and then just put it back
So for
in.
those different
Wasn't it-
apartments, did you basically like build like one thing with like 4 different corners?
Well, I'll give a shout out to our productions designer Roger Fires, who was, I mean, he was constantly working aggressively hard, and those are yes. So we basically would have a couple walls and could only shoot one way, but he was always had solutions and creativity to maximize our budget and
yeah,
time.
Roger's fantastic. Love that guy.
This was something, me and Guy pushed for a lot. Was to do this montage. We really, and Kelly and Dave, the other producers who are not here, I think we all realized it would be great to have Santa because Santa goes away for a while.
Yeah, like you need to keep him in the movie.
Well, and to like really, not like there was any doubt he was Santa Claus, but just, to show a little bit of his routine before the routine gets broken. I feel like that scene, and then also how many
How many bad guys there
mercenaries,
were?
like that kept expanding and contracting, and
Well, that's it. I mean, that was a Kelly and David know too, is also trying to how do we make the bad guys more signature too? And that's when we gave them all those specific costumes and had them being on the inside, all on the inside too.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately this movie succeeds pretty well in making most of the bad guys like have individual, discernible personalities and stuff.
So for cosplay and Halloween, hopefully.
Yeah.
I will also give a shout out to our VFX executive, Mimi at Universal, who allowed us to add that Santa peeing off the sleigh very late. That was the last VFX shot we got approved. So big shout out. Thank you, Mimi. It was worth every penny.
Go put your PJs on, and I will be 2 minutes.
Beautiful fire in the background there. Just setting me in the Christmas mood here.
I remember before we went up to Winnipeg, Guy was sending us just like shots from set and stuff, and we're so pleased with just how warm and Christmassy the vibe.
It's funny, this closet, like this feels like a closet from my parents' house, not from a
Not a super
millionaire's house.
Okay, Pat, easy.
No, but I mean, we also wrote it that way, so I'm not blaming you guys.
I was down in the basement or whatever.
It's the kids' room, so
Yeah,
it's the game
that's
room.
true. That's true.
To me and Mommy this year, we decided that you could have one gift.
Again, yes, and it has such a warm and beautiful Christmas vibe. And I can give a shout out to our DP, Matt Weston, who actually has a long history with Tommy, and they've shot several films together. But I think he did such an amazing job contrasting, again, the hardcore action movie, which we'll get to, but then this very warm,
I mean, yeah, the
beautiful Christmas
interiors
classic
that are
film.
like super warm, and then the exteriors that are super blue and super cold.
Well, Christmas is, I think, why so many action movies that aren't even really about Christmas take place around Christmas. This is such an easy way to get just kind of good production design.
Of just like lights in the back. Like, look at that little dollhouse with all the lights on it.
Again, Roger did such a good job. I mean, we repurposed, I think, every room 2 or 3 times, and all the hallways. We flipped the hallways so we could have multiple floors. And
Yeah,
so
we should mention at this point, like, this movie is not, we didn't have the money that, you know, Marvel movies or Fast and the Furious, like, we had a budget in, I guess, studio terms is, I wouldn't say tight, but it's not huge. So we had to be inventive in how we...
You could say it was tight. It was tight.
But we had to be inventive how we reuse the sets. And like, the mansion supposedly has 2 floors, upstairs and downstairs. And there's one room where we see the stairs going up. But in reality, we obviously only had one level, and we flipped every single room on that level so that it first read as the first floor and then as the second floor. And the giant room we saw earlier where the whole family's meeting, that actually turned into the barn later for the big fight. So we reused a lot of things.
I was impressed by just even the layout behind the scenes of the set. I felt like it looked like a little jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, it was.
This was our outdoor stage build.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the soundstage wasn't very big.
This is one of those nice surprises. I mean, it was funny on the page, don't get me wrong, but like the Santa and his reindeers, it just comes to life. I mean, and I have to give credit to Harbour here. He just makes this so funny, his relationship with the reindeer.
Well, that was another thing we had to keep putting in and taking out of the script.
How much reindeer?
We can afford one reindeer.
Well, and we shot all those reindeers in Calgary with a skeleton crew, and then we CG comped them in there too, though. So those are real reindeer.
That rooftop, like, was that outside or was that in
Correct.
the
That
city?
was outside.
That was outside?
I guess
Okay.
we should talk a little bit about David here. I mean, this scene, first of all, the first cut of the scene was probably 5 minutes where he just walks around.
And I loved every minute of it. I kept trying to put everything in. I loved everything he did at this
Because
scene.
he's so funny, and I mean, we all know Harbour is a great actor, and he's got the physicality and the weight to pull off this role, but he's also super, super funny.
And it's those small moments too, just all these tiny mannerisms. I mean, it feels like he was born to be Santa, and I just think he really embodied it and made him a grounded, real character.
Yeah.
Well, as we told you guys before, when we were writing the movie, we were basically picturing him because there's 2 of us. We usually kind of
we sort of fantasy cast so we're on the same page with each other about what the characters will be like. So we were like, and David Harbour as Santa.
I think it's because, in part, I mean, he's great in everything, but I think in part it was that Joker parody he did on Saturday Night Live where he's playing Oscar.
Oh my God,
Grouch.
it's hilarious.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Grouchy.
But we were like, this guy can ride that tone. Because when we were pitching it, that was another thing, is we could tell a place we were pitching didn't get the idea if they were like, oh, who are you picturing as Santa? Like Will Ferrell or someone, and we're like
Kevin
Will Ferrell.
James,
Yeah, but we're just like, well, I don't think you should play it totally like a comedy.
Yeah, it'll be funnier if we play it like an action movie.
When I read that was one of Tommy's big visions, and David really got on board with too. It's just, it is such a heightened idea that playing it straight and pulling everything down, and we'll get the laughs, but we don't have to reach for them. And again, I think David really nailed that throughout, and always gave us great notes and was a great collaborator throughout.
What? Boxing Day.
This actor, honestly, I can't remember his name, but he was one of those nice surprises. I just think he's really funny.
I
He's
love this little
annoyed security guard.
Also, we also missed our elf not on a shelf that eventually got cut out of the movie, but we had a runner of a elf that is not on a shelf for trademark reasons.
This guy.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Oh, Brendan Fletcher as Krampus, fantastic.
Face-making superstar. But yeah, I love especially that scene with Andre punching out the security guard, because it really feels like that's a scene that would have been in a serious action movie.
Yeah.
This is a serious action movie, Jack.
Sorry.
This Beverly Zinger coming up I remember Tommy was very nervous if it would play for an audience or not, but in our first test screening it got humongous laughs, and there it is.
Well, everything she says is so funny.
Oh,
The action
who's this?
that too.
Who's this? This
It's
dangerous
John
man.
Eggs.
Oh, shit. But I should mention that this is one of the coldest days on the entire shoot. John, amazing guy, super funny, super talented. He hated the cold. I think after the first take, he said, Tommy, I don't think I have it anymore in me. I said, what do you mean? This is the wide shot. We have to go in there. And I believe he was joking.
Well,
but
look
he
at
was
that
so
breath.
cold.
Look at how much breath. It was freezing. I remember not being able to feel my toes that night.
Yeah, that was a cold night.
What the hell am I anyway?
And poor Al, security guard, he had to lie there, be dead for hours too.
And not breathe.
Oh, headshot. By the way, you see the whole lighting setup in that booth, but it just looks like it could be lighting in the booth.
I noticed. I never wanted to say anything. just
We couldn't CG that out.
This is one of the rare times that Tommy and I got in an active fight about that P shot and where we should place the gun. But I think that's when our brains started really freezing. And it took way too long, and I think the P was
I
frozen.
remember another argument that's going to be coming towards the end. I'm going to bring it up because I was right. Because we cut it out. I'll remind you when we get there.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, like the amount of like night exteriors in the cold. I don't know how you guys did it. Like we pieced out before it was time to go to exteriors.
Back to LA we go. Have fun.
I also have to give a shout out to, I know we mentioned their names, but how good Alex and Alexis were as our Jason and Linda. I mean, they had such amazing, and it's not easy. I mean, they had amazing chemistry, but for a couple who loves each other but is separated, it's a lot of complex relationship
And
things
they don't
that they
really
pulled
get a
off.
lot of screen time to like sell this whole relationship either. It's
But
like
they
you
do
gotta
it really-
a lot with a little.
They did spend a time in the evenings with Trudy or Leia as well, and they baked cookies one night. They spent some time to
that's
get the
cool.
dynamic going, which I think was smart.
I actually remember that Leia made everyone in the crew cookies, which was quite nice.
Yeah. She's adorable and sweet and funny, and yeah, for her first movie role, she killed it.
She had such a blast.
Yeah, she's great.
Oh, you might notice that it looks sort of light in the background because we shot this at dawn. But
Yeah, we literally had 10 minutes to get that shot,
Yeah.
and we got it in 8.
well, that's it
That
because we had
massage chair was insanely loud because it wasn't a real massage.
shout out to our
chair.
SFX team and Mark Reichel and his crew because that is
That was just funny Hollywood filmmaking. Like, why not just get a massage chair? Let's build a chair, lamp pump in there,
Instead of just
and a
running
balloon
down to the
underneath.
sharper image
Well, I will
and
say, I
buying
don't know
one
if
and then
this
returning
was
it.
a happy accident. I love that the chair is just like slightly too small for
Right.
Harvard.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's a big
squeezed in there. I guess that sequence I can give a shout out to our second unit director and the stunt guys Jojo Eusebio and Sean Aiden and
yeah,
Fong. But for that whole sequence with Candy Cane, they get crushed it. Jump out.
Without us?
I mean, 87's whole stunt department's insane. I remember when you sent us the I don't know what you would call it. They like shot their own
The
little
stunt
short
viz,
film.
yeah, so the-
I'm like, this is better than most movies.
Yeah,
and they
so they'll-
rebuild all this.
Great.
The fact that they built the wood chipper thing out of
Cardboard. So they'll
Cardboard,
build
and-
everything. Yeah, they'll
and it,
build
like,
everything to
worked, basically.
scale. They'll go and measure the sets, and they'll build everything out of cardboard.
Yeah, they built
so
a
they can
cardboard
really
Christmas tree for one of
shoot
them.
out the sequence.
So this reminded me, that the Michel Gondry movie, Be Kind, Rewind.
Right, they did a cardboard pinball machine, everything.
You're supposed to protect us.
We protect the primary asset. Who the hell are you?
You can call me Mr. Scrooge.
Hilarious. Get him.
Ah, humbug, motherfucker.
I also have to give a shout out to the Bah Humbug motherfucker, because originally that was our bad guy was called the Grinch, but then it was something we could not really clear. So late in the game, right before we started shooting, we
very
flipped.
late, yeah.
Yeah, we flipped him to Mr. Scrooge. We got very panicked for about one night, and then we realized Mr. Scrooge could be an obvious and great replacement. And then we realized we needed to find a way to add the Bah Humbug.
I remember
and,
looking through the script, like, where does he say it?
And then, John got very excited about a Bah Humbug motherfucker before kill.
The only thing I was sad about the Grinch change was just the line where now he says, like, get ready for your worst Christmas
yeah, it's
ever.
like, let's steal Christmas or times something.
Time to
Remember these nose gags, these sort of false starts is something we added later in the post and VFX process to help really sell.
just
I want to
adding the
mention
sparks.
one more thing about that Scrooge fight. Remember, Guy, when we put the camera on the boot cam?
Oh, yeah.
I was sure this was going to be a throwaway shot.
The
I said, let's just do some Raimi stuff here. Let's put the camera on the boot and stomp down on his throat. And they use it in every...
in all the trailers.
All the trailers, yeah.
Happy
little accident.
Our tinsel. Fong.
First fight coming up.
Yeah, this was a fun scene to be on set to watch. Since it's all like one big take.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Dave Leach there telling us all about the stunt trickery.
Yeah, and I think this was, I think it was David's idea. Or he got really excited about the idea of let's try to pull it off as a oneer.
Yeah, the trick was to find a personality or a feel for every different fight, like a way in. And for the first one, we felt like to play on his stress and him being not in Santa, like not being the warrior still, like doing it as a oneer, like amplify that.
And just more about survival instead of any really fluid action. Santa's just trying to get through it. I mean, he really wants to scoop
Texas
up
switches here. We got to point
Yeah.
them out.
Yeah.
Well, that was what's funny for us is because the set was so small. We were watching all of this from like the little video village we were in. So we were seeing, what the audience sees, and Leach was in there, and he's like, "Did you notice the Texas switch?" We're like, "What?"
Yeah, Texas switch is when you swap the actor with a stunt performer in the scene without cutting. So we'll try to point him out here. This is all Harbor. He loved doing this stuff. He'd love to train for it. He'd love to do the fights. There's some stuff we don't want him to do in case he hurts himself. So Ryan, our Australian stunt performer, double for Santa, comes in, and he's coming up the first time now. So
like these stories within the stories, fun little comedy moments in here too.
And now we swap him. Now comes Ryan, stunt guy.
Boom.
Then out he goes.
Rolls in,
And now it's
then-
going to be Harbor again.
Yeah.
And Fong, our tinsel, is also a stunt performer as well as an actor and also one of our fight coordinators too. And those guys were working constantly through the weekends to choreograph the next fight sequence, but just
They were amazing, the
guys.
whole team.
And literally taking a beating on them.
All right, this is actually CGI.
Another switch.
How that one I don't even quite understand how that happened.
No, because
Well, that was
we
a
swapped-
CG stitch.
We
so.
stitched it together.
Stitched to
on
the switch.
punches.
Oh, CG switch.
All right, ice
CG
pick.
extended ice pick.
Yeah, because it was just the handle, right?
Ah!
That's a great scream. And then
Boom.
Out the window you go.
classic Looney Tunes logic here.
Well, we literally had a PA. We had a PA run. We didn't have any way to crank the lights,
run.
so we had a PA just running, pulling the lights to the other side of the stage.
We had that exact gag in a movie we made in college.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got pulled out.
Yeah, I was the one who went over the balcony on that one.
I had to say, I remember that poor Fong again. Another freezing night in between takes that we were trying to run out with hot water bottles and just jackets as he laid speared on this icicle.
Yeah. I also heard this was another funny. Because obviously this movie's
His little tantrum, childish.
the movie's not tiny budget, but it's, yeah, as you said, tight enough that there's things I was surprised that we couldn't afford. Because originally he landed on a fence, like a sharp, spiky fence, and I heard somebody was like, "We can't build a fence."
Yeah, no, it's also funny because it was right under the window. It felt weird having a fence.
Oh, was that?
there.
Yeah, so
It felt like
close.
the ice sculpture could be
It
funny.
would be very random. That'd be very tight. And I think it was fun to do an ice
No, I mean
sculpture.
that was more on theme.
John loved doing this little song here.
I love how bad it is.
Whoa,
That's
whoa,
what really
whoa.
sells it.
Yeah, Johnny Legs, a diehard veteran. He was one of the bad guys in Die Hard 2. He told us
Oh,
this.
I have to say that punch was a big Tommy. I was really committed to the
Well,
punch.
it's just it comes from one of my favorite movies is Get Shorty, and when Dennis Farina just punches that widow, it's just so surprising, and it also says so much about a character. You really see it in film, just punching a defenseless woman like that.
Well, right up top in his first real big scene
Yeah.
here.
It's
It
very
also,
shocking.
like, helps sell Beverly because she, like, kind of takes it and is
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
like, she's tough.
We gotta. I don't know, do you ever get a really good shot of your cameo painting, Tommy?
Oh yeah. I'm in the background here somewhere.
I remember this cookie callback came in. This was another note from our fellow producer.
Like, his
Kevin
first instinct
McCormick,
is
too.
not to help. It's like
Yeah.
he's got to go back for the little girl.
But
Well,
Trudy
I
made
think
the cookie.
Dave suggested, or Devin Kelly suggested, no, they're right. There should be something. Maybe there's a list or a letter she wrote, and I think I suggested, well, you can just find the cookies that she baked.
Yeah.
And
No, it's so much better.
yeah,
Led into a nice gag of eating it again, too.
Yeah.
But I've already seen people on Twitter just from the trailer complaining, like, why is Santa helping these rich people? It's like, he's helping the little girl.
Yeah, he doesn't care about the rich people.
If you'd really done that,
Yuck.
my brother Rory was kidnapped in the 70s.
I want to see a movie about this Rory guy.
Hey,
It's
prequel.
the Rory kidnapping and the kill squad. A young Thorpe just rising the ranks.
Practically writes itself.
I know.
Might not be the prequel anybody wants or asks for, but it is what you got.
Kill squad behind closed doors. I also know that they're on
Once
their
everyone gets too expensive and
take them to get here, even though their credit ratings and their
Credit ratings and dick sizes. That's a John ad-lib. He loves to ad-lib. He loves to come up with lines and suggestions. And he really brought this character to life. I mean, it was a lot of great stuff on the page, but his personality now just infuses this whole character in such a great way.
million in US dollars sitting in your purse.
And just getting some variety. Just having the levels of comedy, but also staying very threatening. And again, and John was just a lovely guy to work with, too, and just very gracious to all the other cast and crew, and really believed that we had a chance at something special, and would say it every day. Just a really very positive.
Disappeared in the fog of war.
I like this whole look, his like jacket and his gun sticking out with like the big fur collar, super
that's
gigantic
kind
fur
of
lapels.
Scrooge inspired, right? I think that was the jacket inspiration.
Yeah,
When it's a dark green a
just
bit.
looks so
too.
badass, I guess.
All this Christmas shit.
You'll find out later.
Don't talk to him about Christmas.
Because when you hit the panic button, it reset the combination. I keep
You
telling
might have noticed our panic room was just actually a dark area. Sorry. Movie magic. There's our vault.
I remember when Roger was like, "Want to see the vault?" And we're like, sure." We were
Let's
not
see.
expecting it to be so elaborate and awesome.
Yeah. And we had a really beautiful design here, and I have to say that at some point it didn't quite spin all the right ways, or we couldn't get to state, so we had a moment of literally just jamming a ball of duct tape in there. So, sometimes you do whatever it takes, which means duct taping your way through a shoot sometimes.
Maybe he fell.
you rappelled down buildings.
And I have to say, Mitra as Candy Cane had a lot of, again, they're not necessarily written as jokes on the page, but really found a great way to embody that character and find these levels of humor. There's Sean Aiden, who was also one of our fight coordinators, and stuntman, but also a fantastic performer as Frosty, as he's
people don't
heading
know,
towards
it's,
his Epic
in real
kid.
life, he's actually a very good chef. So
He's following like a candy trail.
I'm not actually sure, but I bet he could. Like a mean pot roast.
pot roast. I don't think I ever had pot roast.
I don't know if I've ever had
That is a
pot
very
roast.
American dish, isn't it?
Meatloaf's definitely
Yeah.
more of an American dish.
What is a pot roast?
Meatloaf. What it sounds like.
It's a roast. In a
Pot.
pot.
Yeah, but a pot. And what kind of roast? What kind of meat?
I mean, I think it can be various things, but it's
beef.
Reminds me of
beef
one
or
of my
like
favorite lines from Naked Gun. It's like when he shows up and she's cooking dinner. There you are. I was just boiling a roast.
yeah.
They don't cook meat in pots in Norway.
Yeah, I guess we do. All right.
Oh yeah, we these signed balls are all signed by people like us.
Members, yeah.
What?
The sports memorabilia.
Oh, yeah.
Roger had us like sign the balls.
Oh, really? You guys signed them
didn't
out?
know
That's
that.
fun. I
That's
didn't know.
news to me.
that.
Yeah.
Easter egg,
Then
yeah.
After we left the set, we got these panicked emails of like, you guys got to sign
Clearances.
waivers
Oh,
on your,
yeah.
having your
I'm
name on
pretty
the
sure
baseball
Tommy's
in the
not going to
background.
get an extreme
Oh, that's great.
helmet
But
I signed.
Fight 2, baby.
Fight 2 coming up, and one of the things that we was the last thing to fall into place was the decision on what song to use for this fight, and this is a very funny song in the end, but it's not overplayed. You haven't heard as much as a Christmas song. That's
Yeah.
why I really liked it.
And I can give
I love this whole
a shout out to our
fight.
Universal Music executive, Rachel Levy, too, who was
Yeah.
very supportive and really tried to find, combination of classic songs, but songs like this that you haven't quite heard before, and just so you can hopefully kind of launch more Christmas classic songs that you would
All
only
right, one of
find.
my favorite stunts coming up. I know it's not the big one, but I love this double kick here.
Was that assisted in any way, or was
No.
that was just
Did it.
pure muscle power?
And Sean doing the kick, and Ryan, our stunt
That
double.
bit with
going.
Santa not being able to use the gun, like in the script, there was a whole running gag where he would always call them gizmos, and I think he only says gizmo once in the movie,
Yeah.
if that.
Glad he says it at least once.
I just realized something. I'm gonna rip your fucking balls off, and then he hits him with balls. I don't know.
I also remember.
No, I thought that was
And I have to give Sean a
know.
good credit because I remember those pool balls hurt. They were rubber, but they were not.
They were not light.
They weren't cotton.
Well, something else is coming up too that hurt too with the Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. I love the scream.
Yeah.
This
And we had our
pinball
cameraman
table is
shooting
the
from
same
above.
pinball table from Nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Easter egg.
Well, because this was shot in the same soundstage. as
Nobody was also shot. in
Nobody.
Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Oh, darts. Beautiful.
Love this little gag here.
And again, yeah, David was really committed to doing the
I love that.
doing the training, doing the choreography, so he could be in as much of these fight scenes as possible. And I love the bad gag of stabbing into the infinite as here.
That was part of the fun, and we kind of, we didn't have it straight away, but as we started rehearsing these fights and getting into it, like we discovered, like we got to just use Christmas as much as we can
Yeah.
in every single fight.
I always love this.
This was a lead suggestion of having him put in the plug in the socket as well, to finish him off.
This was a long day of shooting, but it all came together. I believe in rehearsal, our second unit director, Jojo Eusebio, broke a fake pool stick over one of our stunt performances.
That's right. And this was always in the script, his head catching on fire, right? I remember that. But
This part with David was hilarious. Too.
But then David wanted to use it even more. So he wanted to lean over the body and talk on the walkie while it's on fire. So we added like 10 visual effects shots. But it was worth it because it's really funny.
Well, originally it was supposed to be a dummy, but then we just got a head and with no torso. So poor Sean had to take the weight of Santa on top of him and play dead.
One thing.
I remember actually the first first draft that you read, Tommy, that was actually Santa eventually going backwards. Santa was actually using a gun for a lot of it, and I think that was one of the first big things we took out.
It was like he started using guns like right at the end. He had like one gun sequence.
Yeah, and I think we realized it felt a lot more fun and more signature and unique to the movie. Let's get rid of that and have Santa never be able to use a gun and just have to use all the different ways you can kill people with Christmas paraphernalia.
The only thing I miss is that at one point the ending of the movie was him blowing up Scrooge with a bazooka.
The death now is so much. Like, it plays so well.
The Scrooge's death, was originally just kind of randomly in the middle of the movie.
Guy, it was a big guy in a kitchen who got stabbed like some.
You were like this.
It was so good because it went into the vent.
We got to give it to one of our signature characters.
Right. Nice lists.
Invited weird kid to the party. My favorite.
Yeah, that's a good little joke you put in there.
You're on my nice list.
Oh. And then remember this getting this audible sigh and emotional reaction in our first test screening, which made us really happy because there is a lot of heart baked into crazy action and comedy.
I love these scenes with Santa and Trudy. They're great. And
just that amazing wish fulfillment for a kid on a walkie, and then the real Santa answers is priceless.
I mean, that's the thing for us. I think we were most surprised.
We got one of our biggest jokes coming up.
Is that because we wanted the Christmas stuff to be as sappy as the violence was, extreme. And we kind of assumed that somewhere along the line, Universal or someone would, get scared by one or the other, and either it would become a PG family movie or they'd strip out all the goopy Christmas stuff to just make it more.
Or this just shows we can have both, where we can have very nice emotion and an anus joke all in one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can have both, but sometimes people are scared, but you guys weren't.
And this is one of the places actually where after you test the movie a couple of times, and we actually had to add more space or air here because people were laughing over the next few lines when they're talking about anus and all that stuff.
And this is one of the surprise moments that we always got in our first audience screenings, big laughs of that. Just the Santa on the security camera.
Fuck, but who the hell is he?
It's jolly as fuck.
Santa listed on the employee manifest.
Yeah, there's more. Frosty.
Yeah, obviously this movie is patterned somewhat after Die Hard. That was part of the idea.
Somewhat?
But that Trudy would be our Al, because so much of Die Hard obviously is Bruce Willis talking to Al the cop on the radio.
Al?
Speaking of, here's our Al.
Still cold, still playing dead.
Yeah, there was like a bunch of different versions of the scene where there was a bad guy dressed up as Al here that Santa talks to, and then has to, when he's about to shoot Santa in the back, Santa figures out.
And it was out, and then it came back in late again, and David Harbour got really excited about it, and then we took it out again.
That's really the only scene in the whole movie that I am kind of sad's not there, but I get.
It would have been a nice moment.
And I remember this scene being very nice.
So much. That's
this back and forth being very great because I remember David really wanting to just play it straight. Yeah, because Santa just wants to leave and take it off, but for John Lugwood, for Scrooge, he's in the action movie, and Santa doesn't even know that. He's not even playing with him.
Well, for tonight, I'm Mr. Scrooge now.
Yeah, Santa's hasn't quite embraced his action hero role yet here.
Yeah.
Put down your weapons. I want you to let this family go. And then I want to find my reindeer, and I want to continue.
Yeah, because he's playing it earnest and straight. That's exactly what he's trying to do.
I like to keep it earnest and straight. No, wait, what's the line from
Frank and Ernest?
I think he kept it frank and earnest with the women. In Chicago, I'm Frank. In
New York, I'm Earnest.
Yeah.
What movie?
The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah.
That was a
great Christmas action movie.
Yeah, because he died originally.
Oh, really?
So that was a reshoot.
To-do list. To find you and to end you and to wipe my ass with you in this whole fucking holiday.
Yeah, so there we kind of start establishing for the first time that this character has more. He's not just. I mean, obviously his plot is to steal the money, but he's got an extra hate for Christmas, which I always thought was something nice we added.
That was a late in the game edition.
Yeah.
And then even big zingers like that, like Santa Claus is coming to town, David found a way to pull it down. So, I mean, it still got big reactions with the crowd, but just trying to really, again, humanize that character. Oh, a big wound. Oh, no.
This scene I was not on stage to shoot. I had to direct this to an iPad because this is a Monday, and on Friday my family flew in from Norway, my kid, my girlfriend, and her sister, and they had a stomach bug with them. It turned out. So I was home sick on Monday, directing to an iPad. But Guy was there, Leach was there, holding the strings. So it was fine.
Damn, Gertrude. You really got to think.
Another level of chaos to a day, but still a very fun and crazy day.
Yeah, and also actually, one of my favorite laughs from the film was not in the script. There was something I asked Dave to try at the end of the day, on the last take of Edie and Cam. Cam turns to Edie when he says, "There's no Santa Claus," and Cam says, "Really?" Yeah, that was in the script. It was just something. I think it was because I was watching it on an iPad. It felt like I was watching a movie. It felt like we could have a gag there.
Yeah, as opposed to directing through a screen gives you a different perspective.
No, it's okay. No, we don't need to do this. No. No.
Oh, there's me in the background.
Yeah,
I like how Alex plays this, though. It's very... And Alex, he told us he was excited to do this role just because he's like usually cast as bad guys and weirdos.
Yeah.
He's like, I just want to play the normal guy.
Stop it. What are we doing here? Come on.
And what I liked about Alex's performance that he gave Jason like a quirkiness. Like he's his goofy dad. Obviously, he has his own thing going on that we'll review later.
I love that bit.
I remember briefly when this wasn't going to be like a big wooden nutcracker. It was going to be more like a realistic little metal one.
I think we added some sort of metal teeth in there too, but you can't
it's got to
quite
be
see
a big,
that.
stupid one. I think that was one of those things where people were briefly caught up in the like, but how could you even stick his nuts in that thing? And it's like, well, it doesn't happen. So
I think Brendan did such a great job of embodying Krampus. He definitely really brought him to creepy life here, and as the little elf.
He's wearing like Christmassy boxer shorts too.
Stop running like Daddy, or Santa will get mad.
Ah, what a cutie. So what do we know about Santa, little one?
She doesn't know anything about Santa.
He wasn't asking you.
She's playing make-believe. She's
Actually, we modeled Mitra's hair off of the female villain in Die Hard 3.
I mean, that was her kind of whole character was sort of modeled after. We were.
That was a very 90s look, the platinum blonde, slicked hair.
It's actually inspired by that movie we just discussed, Long Kiss Goodnight.
Right.
Davis's look.
Gina Davis, and the dark
when she
eyeshadow.
goes all spy, that's like
and the
how she came
eyeshadow
in.
around too. I always thought John was so good and menacing in this scene.
I'm sorry, Santa's just a thing.
There's just something like about believing in Santa Claus. It's like the most wholesome thing you can do. Like that was kind of the whole.
And my daughter is about the same age as Trudy in this movie, so I feel like that's living it all in real time.
But yeah, just like a dad yelling at his daughter. There's no such thing
There
as
it is.
Santa Claus. It's just like.
There's no Santa. Hey, let's come back Easter and ruin the Easter bunny for her too.
I remember Pat and Josh have an Easter bunny that they're sitting Easter bunny movie they're sitting on. Do that too.
Little brat.
I don't understand how Trudy gets away from Candy Cane there.
I've
Don't worry about it. Have enough camera.
Hey, she's very fast and nimble.
She's actually in the sprint team at school. Is that what you don't you have like a
Yeah, we're
race?
at the reveal of Santa's Viking
I'm glad this
tattoos.
got
Nordic
pulled
tattoo.
out of the trailer. It's more fun.
To not give it. I gotta say these details of the candle to the ornament to get the hook out so it was all.
I mean, this was all sort of inspired by the Pickle Rick episode when he's like patching himself up with like a sandwich pickle and like a mustard packet and stuff. We were like, that was so funny.
Yeah, this was. I remember it was a Harbor.
Yeah,
he had the
on
idea.
set, yeah.
Hey, can we use Christmas gack? And then we sent that idea to you guys, and then
Yeah.
you just came up with all this.
I remember
we
we
could
were
do.
shooting that first scene at the security, and he was sitting in a warm car, and he just wrote out the sort of list and the sequencing for all these sort of things too. But
But it's just fun doing a scene like this that we have seen in movies before, but just using again Christmas gack to do it.
I mean, it's such a standard action movie thing for these badasses to be like, take the bullet out of themselves and do this like.
But again, we're playing it straight, even though he's using cotton and wrapping paper, and we're playing it straight. It's
I had
very
this
good.
thing in the script once that never gone anywhere, but I was waiting to use it. But like this exact scene, but the guy just can't do it. Like he keeps fucking up, trying to get the bullet, rips the intestine a little bit,
Making it
He
worse.
tries to sew it up, but he just messes it up. Yeah.
So do his Viking tattoos have any real meaning?
Oh yeah,
or-
yeah. They're real Viking runes. Yes. For
So
sure.
this whole backstory for Santa, this was like kind of a separate movie idea we had years ago, but like before Sonic. I remember talking about it all excited on one Christmas. But we were like, yeah, it'll be like a story of how this Viking gets all the magic stuff and like learns a lesson and becomes Santa. It'll be a huge epic fantasy movie, and then realizing like, no, wait, this will be preposterously expensive. Don't ever let us make this. But maybe someday as a prequel to this.
I have to say that wrapping something up, David originally didn't want to say that line, and it was in a different place in this sort of scene. And then I basically begged him, and he came back a couple minutes later and he said, he's like, I figured out. He's like, I found a spot for it. And it's great. And it obviously ended up in the cut. And it's like, again, he plays it sort of straight. It still gets some laughs. But again, it was always finding a way to sort of sneak in these, humanizing these zingers, so to speak. But thank you, David, if you ever listen to this, which you probably won't. So.
So this is kind of, basically the heart of the movie in those scenes between Santa and Trudy. And they're really, I think, acting-wise, these scenes are just beautiful and between David and Leia. And David
Beautiful
was
music, too, by our composer, Dominic Lewis.
Amazing music.
Such a range. We had the full orchestra that we recorded, which was an amazing experience.
And David was there on set when we did Trudy for a lot of that, being on the other side of the walkie to help. And
Christmas magic.
yeah, we knew we had to get these scenes right, because if we can get this right, this part of the movie right, the heart and the Christmas movie element of it, then we could go as crazy as we want on the rest. So yeah, we all of us put a lot of work into this, as we know, and to make it feel good and nice and Christmassy.
Yeah. I love how like blousy and old-fashioned his shirt is there. It's great.
Very blousy.
I remember when we did a couple read-throughs with David and Leia as well, and I feel like we worked this scene over with you guys many times, just really, again, trying to get it right, and again, try to add this idea of, Santa being more than the toys, and, again, he's trying to find the belief in what was the point. Why did I ever do these things? And again, I feel like this is...
Yeah, what is the real...
Trudy reminds him of the magic and what he really sort of means, and that specificity, again, of answering ridiculous kids' wishes, but with something else, in a sense, but...
Floating just beneath the clouds. Wow. It's about as good as it gets.
He's great here, Leia. And David, too.
Too hard on your parents,
So nice. It was funny because it is the part of the movie, this whole thing, where there's the least amount of action. And we talked about for a while, like, okay, maybe we should try to trim this down. We should get to the action faster. But we realized, no, we got to let the audience invest in them here and get emotionally anchored into the characters in the movie, and so that they're in for it for the last crazy ride that's coming up.
And we reward them.
I'll give a shout out to our
patience.
studio executive, Matt Riley, who I think he's one of those first people that seeded that idea of how to, making more of this ring and the ring idea to add more to Mrs. Claus, too. So.
Yeah, and then we found a nice payoff for the ring later on.
Mm-hmm.
The magic just goes away.
Hey,
We try to always have
him.
Krampus eating, too. And that this is literally, he has cheese stuck on the top of his mouth in the beginning. So
He's so great in the scene.
I want to see what you rich assholes get each other. And some of you might not.
well, I guess the one thing we did cut out of one of these is Santa's backstory that we get to save for the sequel.
Yeah, well, now
and we cut
hopefully
it and we
there's
cut it out of the deleted scenes too, just so there's nothing that you could try. That was the one thing I was like, no, cut that. Cut that.
Save it for the sequel.
Gertrude, I got you something.
And for all, this is coming up, the pitch
Yeah.
deck is a very Hollywood thing. It is you create this folder with your movie idea. So to me, this is a really funny scene.
Can I call you Mom? Mrs. Lightstone.
I feel like
I
I've been
don't
in
know.
this
We'll see
situation many
how
times.
this plays with normal people.
I
But
remember seeing a few versions of this deck too. It took a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's called Explosive Force.
And as a lover and maker of martinis, we made a real point to have those on that table.
And one of my favorite lines is actually, funny lines is Edie Coming up now.
We've been to parts of Air.
We were in parts of Asia once. Yeah, and we couldn't go to a restaurant.
Better gift then.
I just realized we're talking over every single piece of dialogue in the movie. Hopefully, people know this movie when they watch the
don't watch the
commentary.
commentary the first time you're watching the movie. If that's what you're doing, turn it off right now.
Yeah.
Mother, I got you something really special.
It's a terrible way to watch a movie.
Well, if you watch it 6 or 7 times, then you should watch this with the commentary track.
Sentimental photo of the day I was born.
I just love that you added the sentimental photo. It's a sentimental photo.
She doesn't give a shit.
Shit.
This is so fun.
Mommy, how about another one? I got
Brendan Fletcher from the movie Jason vs. Freddy. A movie that I love,
Yeah.
actually.
It's kind of what I associate with still. Well, until now.
Yeah.
He just said he went on tape and his reading was just, I mean, so terrifying. I mean, it was like he was really channeling Ted Levine's Buffalo Bill from
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs.
Not Ted Levine. One of the great movie
Candy
voices.
cane.
Yeah, Candy Cane. That's what he said. His catchphrase from Joyride.
It's my favorite whiskey.
You can skip the note.
Oh, Bond, we did have lots of good booze
I'm such a
sponsorship.
big Ted Levine fan. You know that, right? I love his work.
I didn't know.
I actually think his scene, and remember, oh God, I'm blanking on the name. Leo DiCaprio, Scorsese, and the Insanity Asylum.
Oh,
Shutter Island.
Shutter Island. Ted Levine is in 3 minutes of that movie, but his scene is the best in the film with him and DiCaprio on the Jeep. I don't know if you remember that.
I gotta
Oh, right.
watch it.
I
Talking
only
about
saw it
violence.
once.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Thank you, Jason.
I love this too, the of letting that just play on their faces without showing the audience what the note says.
Right.
What's the card say?
I think I'll just keep that between Jason and I.
Well, I think that's something we did later. Didn't we move the reveal
Yeah.
later in the movie? Or
Yeah, I
when
think at one
Linda
point
found...
Jason told Linda.
Right. Yes.
While they
Oh yeah, this
like,
is
in
this
the
is one of
scene.
this is the scene that me and the editor Jim did the most work on. Like, in regards to just taking out that scene was supposed to be so much longer. That scene had the whole thing of Jason telling Linda go hide the present that he put under the tree earlier, while whispering to Linda what the hell was going on, and we just realized, you know what, it's more interesting if we don't have to.
Yeah, you let the audience know something's
Yeah.
going on, but they don't know what.
I
And
feel
it
like
was
we
really
pushed
tricky
it all
cutting-
in the script later too, and I can't remember if that was a note from Alex. It came somewhere.
But it was a really actually hard scene to cut because Jason and Linda were so close together there, talking all this.
Like this
Yeah.
I have to say,
shot, is that what? Where did that background?
I
come
give
from?
our crew, our VFX guys, Crafty Apes, a lot of credit. They did a fantastic job because there's a bunch of dead bodies that you can't really see lying on the ground, and we had some of those little fires in the
Only one fire,
woods,
yeah.
but that was all blue screen, and then they did a beautiful job building the CG environment behind it. I mean, that was one of the last things we shot with David. Was that the last thing we shot? I mean,
I like that he tells
last thing we
Trudy
shot was
outside.
he would
outside.
smash heads in with his hammer.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't even think about it.
Yeah, with the sentimental music behind it.
Well, I feel like that was something I wouldn't say we got in debates about, but it was like at various times I felt there'd be kind of notes pushing Santa to be more like, I don't know, I guess appropriate with Trudy, but we're like, I mean, he was a Viking.
Yeah,
He's been
our instinct was that he's not actually
he hasn't
good
been
with kids.
interacting with.
Yeah, and I think that was
kids.
something that David really liked. I remember
Yes,
him just
I
like
think
that he wanted, like he's going to just talk to her like she's an adult and not.
He likes kids, but he doesn't have a lot of experience talking to them.
Yeah, because I think that's what he also liked, that Trudy is a kid but would talk like an adult and have these adult, almost more sophisticated responses to what he was saying.
When we were cutting the film, I showed because I was in Norway doing my director's cut, and I did a little tiny screening there for a few of my filmmaker friends, and that was one of the biggest laughs in the film. Was later the payoff when he pulls up the hammer and Trudy says "Skull Crusher."
Yeah.
It was so funny.
We did a screening for press, and there was a writer that I got to the screening, and that was the first thing she sent to me. She's like, love that moment. Again, it's one of those surprise moments that seems to really play for the audiences.
I love that rose window in the attic too.
All right, you got satellite conference.
All right, Thorpe coming up. Mike Dopewood.
ETA, 30 minutes.
We're on schedule. Everything's
The original ending, which you guys could talk, was helicopters and sleigh and big thing, but Tommy, being an avid Norwegian snowmobiler, what made a point to really, and I guess, hey, one that made sense in the budget, but just a bit more unique and signature to have snowmobiles as opposed to CG.
Yeah, and invokes Die Hard 2 as well. Which Leguizamo was telling us about how he's in Die Hard 2 and he was originally supposed to be like the second in command of the bad guys. But then when he showed up on set and they saw that he was short, he got demoted to like bad guy number 7.
Really?
That's the way he tells the story.
But yeah, snowmobiles, I feel like, speaking of Die Hard 2, it's one of the few movies that have a good snowmobile sequence in it. Other than that is one of the James Bonds. Like, I'm struggling to come up with other snowmobile scenes in movies that are great. So I love snowmobiles. So,
And usually they have a lot bigger budget than.
The Santa Claus here is the voice of one of the sound designers here.
Merry Christmas.
I don't know. That was also very tricky to shoot and took a lot longer than I thought it was.
Just like to get the little Santa robot.
Yes, and I think remember Tommy wanting to kill me because it was something that he had debated. Maybe we can cut it out, and I just like thought it was such a funny and fantastic thing, and just really wouldn't let it go.
This like throwing the thing and shooting it it's like a video game move, you know?
Yes,
Like,
we fully acknowledge they do not explode. Fire extinguishers don't explode.
They actually did an
but
episode
it's
of this
very
in
fun.
Mythbusters. Yeah, they tried all these things. Nope, didn't work. And shooting a gasoline tank in the car didn't work either.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
And I actually remember this being one of your first big notes too, Tommy, too, of wanting this kind of interrogation.
No, this was like the
sit-down
biggest
seats.
change.
Yeah.
Like from our very
wanting
original
them toe
first
to toe,
draft,
yeah.
which we wrote very, very quickly. Like the movie's shockingly similar. And this was when we first talked to you, Tommy. You were like, yeah, we got to get a scene of Santa and Scrooge really together, or he was Grinch at the time. We were like, oh, of course. Like that was, you know,
Yeah.
once you said it, we were like, yeah.
And this gave us an opportunity to and really have this big Scrooge background and get really into his character and add some real levels there too.
Yeah, I love this
And
scene.
we
I love-
shot this pretty early too. I
yeah,
remember
it was one
like
of the
'cause-
first scenes with John. But it's also, I love this scene. I love to shoot it. I love the different moments back and forth, and I love when we started revealing that Scrooge has more like a reason to hate Christmas, and I also think it also made because one of my favorite things in this film is Gingerbread and Candy Cane starting to believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah. Like, and it really gives them a
it.
chance to shine in this sequence as well.
And I think you really feel David and John's chemistry in the scene too, which was really beautiful. But
yeah,
no, and this scene has all the levels. It has the comedy, it has the threat and the danger, but also again this sort of emotional underbelly. And,
And
we
Santa
kind of
tied up with Christmas lights. Just
yeah,
some
but I think we
fast
always felt like
nonsense.
if he's this is one of those real big buy-in scenes for an audience too. If they really buy into all this emotional context, then we got them hooked. I also remember it being very hot and David being wanting to not be tied to the chair all the time if we were ready to shoot. Well, and originally I remember we had it was like her unhooking a chandelier,
Yeah,
and that was
like,
one of the notes I took from my daughter. I was like, my daughter can't operate like a
No, for sure.
screwdriver and
So
a
you're like,
and a ratchet wrench, and I'm
I
like,
say that because she creates 6 elaborate death traps later on.
all right, but those just seem a little bit easier than like taking a
Coming up
racket.
with the styrofoam that was one of those like, wait a minute.
Once we realized the styrofoam thing, we were like, oh, this is so much better.
Yeah, I know, and
like
and
dropping a
I have
chandelier.
no problem admitting that I put in the sawing off the chandelier, and then you replaced it with the falling snow, which was brilliant, and they made the Christmas miracle come in again, and yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah, the snowing inside. It's such a beautiful moment. And like you put it into slow-mo. It's like the one piece of slow-mo in this whole movie,
Yeah.
right?
I'm actually not I love movies with slow-mo, but my movies have extremely little slow-mo in them. I actually remember on Hansel and Gretel, we went back and did some additional photography, not to really put in the movie, but to put in the trailer because they really want a slow-mo shot in the trailer.
Were there any reshoots on this movie?
No.
Not even any like inserts?
Zero additional photography. Yeah, zero inserts.
Nailed it the first time.
Yeah. But you got to do that stuff in Norway. You can't go. Yeah, we can't afford going back shooting another time. No.
And fell down.
Yeah, Gingerbread and Candy Cane. That was kind of a happy accident because I remember, even though you guys ended up adding more kind of non-speaking part mercenaries for Scrooge's team. That was like initial thing was like we need less for budget, and by having less, that was kind of the happy accident of We
Yeah.
just kind of gave all these bits to Gingerbread and Candy
Well, we were also
Cane.
just like really, who does this? Who does that? Where are these bad guys? And really thinking about it and like taking the opportunity to build them into more
Well, it
real
elevated these
characters.
two characters a lot.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, this is a great moment where John snaps at Santa,
Yeah, well, maybe you fucking should!
where he's just, shows that he's real. Like, this is a real character for once, and not for once, but a real character, not just a bad guy out for money.
And again, just playing on that theme too, of just that, Santa potentially doing more than just the toys.
Back in 82? One you wrote me.
Bjorn.
But you, Kira. Well, you made your brother eat worm.
I love the beautiful contrast. Again, we have the very serious music with just saying ridiculous things.
That's a John Adler.
Yeah, I love that ad lib.
Who you work for? You got 5 seconds to tell me who you really are. 5, 4, 3, 2.
I'm Santa Claus!
Not anymore.
Good thing he hesitated long enough to notice the snow.
And I think Dom did such a beautiful move, again, with the music. 'Cause
Yeah.
just creating this really magical, I think what you said, like Disney moment in a way, Tommy. But
Yeah.
we also had a rendition of Silent Night in here that Dom performed, which I thought was also beautiful and continued to try to jam into the movie somewhere. But this
Wait,
this
is Silent
perfect.
Night, did that make the final?
I think
cut
it's
in
somewhere
there?
in the background in one of the scenes. And
Also, it's several times hinted at.
She really got some great snow distribution for just dumping styrofoam in a van.
Yeah, but this is what.
Okay.
They're rich. They have great central air.
Yeah, look, dude, this is one of those. I really get annoyed on set. I consider myself a pretty calm guy. And
You
I
are
was
pretty
going this-
calm.
But I
Yeah.
was showed up on set this day, and what they had planned, and this is just like an example of miscommunication, but they literally had just like the, what do you call it in the floor that she looks through? The grid?
Yeah.
They were just thinking, she could just drop the snow directly on them so it just drizzled down. Like, no, that's not what I want. I want a snowstorm. So we had to do all these tests with the snow and do all those vents, but it turned out nicely.
Where'd he go?
I always thought this was hilarious. Yeah.
Up the chimney.
I love how Andre does.
It was a bit of a stretch that only Andre saw it, but we had
But it was
to.
great.
You can't fit up there.
Yeah.
It's his reindeer.
It's his reindeer.
And then Andre just again embodies it, just playing it so straight. It's so much funnier.
I mean, a big part of this whole movie, too, is just the idea of believing in Santa and how hard it is for an adult. Like, on TV shows, sometimes, at like the end of their Christmas episode, something magical will happen and they hear the jingle bells in the distance of like an episode of like Golden Girls or
Right.
something. And I'm like, what? Santa Claus really exists in this universe? How can you go back to your regular life after this?
Right. This,
Oh. This
punch here always gets a good laugh.
Yeah. Hashtag blessed.
And Jim, the editor, he put a little, he just gave it a little bit extra snap there.
And I got to give Cam a shout out for his ad lib of parkour over the couch. It also gets a hilarious joke.
And Texas Switch.
Texas Switch. There was Cam lying on the ground out there as the stunt guy jumped through the window.
That's like
we
the
got that
most
one take.
classic
That was
instance
one
of
take,
Texas
and he
Switch.
popped right up. It was perfect. And I think Cam kept running all the way back to his hotel from there.
And yeah,
this
we have an
barrel.
amazing sound design team on this movie, led by Karen Baker Landers, Peters, and one of the things that they did the most work on was actually snowmobiles. So because there's very little snowmobile, like in the, again, there's so few movies with them in, so
That there's not like libraries of snowmobile
so
sounds.
actually,
that
I brought my
exist.
recorder with me to my hometown when I went home this summer, and I went around town recording snowmobiles in sheds. Can you start up your snowmobile for me? Just rev it.
I also say that barrel roll, that fall down the hill that Cam did. Originally, he did it by accident. I mean, he actually just slipped in the snow that he was sprinting down, and we made a joke. I'm like, all right, now you have to do that every take, and he did it every take. But
I mean, it looks great.
yeah, it was perfect. He really committed. And all this stuff on the roof is the last stuff we actually shot
Here.
with
I'm gonna have
David
to later
Harbour.
this
pause
list-
this and really read what all this stuff says.
On that note list, there's like 4 names of my childhood friends because
Yeah, us
we needed
too.
names.
Yeah. A lot of the names are like, the first name of one of our friends and the last name of a different friend. I assume.
I'd say
you
this
guys
is
did the same.
this moment with Mitra and Thorpe was probably got one of the biggest laughs or two. I think.
Be the real Santa.
Yeah, this. Fuck you say? Mike delivers that line so great as well.
Oh yeah, Mike was perfect. Thorpe.
Go find
Yeah, I like his voice.
Yeah, I remember one point Mike was like, he was a little skeptical of wearing the beanie because it was the first thing we shot with him was the vault. And yeah, he had a cool hairdo. He was like, do you need this beanie? So, yeah, you need the beanie. And I think he was so happy that I forced him to wear that beanie.
For the
when we-
outside
when we did
stuff?
some
Yeah.
scenes later on.
We also shot this moment pretty much at dawn. We had to color the sky packs. Big jump. Whoa.
We originally wrote having him like do like a Tarzan swing with
Well,
like,
trust me,
Christmas lights, but
in,
it was just not high
in
enough.
practicality, we looked at it and we were like, that just isn't gonna
Yeah,
work.
that mean, because that would have mean that they would have hung the lights so high somewhere.
Yeah.
To get the pen
Or like
light.
I figured. Well, it doesn't
And we
matter.
talked about it was one of those things. It was one of those things we talked about for like way too long, and I was like, he should just jump off the roof. We're like, great, got it, moving on. But it was a great stunt. I mean, that's we had the wires, and we had to shoot that several times, and gave Ryan some credit because it's not easy to keep jumping off a roof in the freezing cold into a giant pile of snow over and over again.
Was there like a mat under that snow, or was it just snow?
No, it was just snow. They had the most snow in Winnipeg, I think they said in like a century. So it was just very, very
I would say
deep
something
snow.
like, again, like Hollywood filmmaking is so funny to me sometimes, like because like I mentioned earlier, we didn't have any hills in Winnipeg, so we had to build a hill with snow, where he does the jump through the sleigh later on. But it was 50 truckloads of snow, but at one point it was like, yeah, so with a snow hill, should we like build like this wooden ramp underneath and then we put snow around? It's like, no, just put snow. Just put snow. You don't have to build anything, but is it
It's snow.
secure?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's secure. Just snow.
I just remember in this moment, John really wanted to kick and slam these things around, and we were just slightly nervous that the walls would all just fall over.
Yeah.
That they held.
That's not real metal. It's fake movie metal.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, I have to say, as we get into it, but I remember that Tommy always had a specific song in mind for our Bryan Adams hit for this. So now inside the barn is actually that big, great room with the giant Christmas tree where we shot all the family scenes, and then we completely repurposed and redressed. So again, big shout
Like
out to
every
our
interior
our,
in this whole
art
movie is
department.
all on a stage except for that bar, or was that bar a stage?
The bar was actually a location.
That was a real
yes,
bar.
that was and then the rooftop. I guess those are the only two actual locations. And then and our camera test day outside, obviously, where we're on the street. And our techie here is Cha, who's also one of our fight coordinators, and been pulling double duty.
And it was funny because we were like so careful to keep exact track of how many bad guys there were, even for all this end stuff. But then as we were getting closer to shooting this barn, ultimately you guys were like, you know what? There's an unlimited number of bad
Well,
guys.
that was our second.
Don't worry about it.
But that became our second unit director. So it was like, well, we can just repurpose and we'll just keep killing guys for as much time as that. And it
They had
was
masks
great.
on.
It's
It's
great.
totally fine. All right, big moment coming up.
You make that wish come true.
And this is
The audience, when we see this with the crowd, loves this bit.
And I think in a good way, that theme of the ring and Mrs. Claus leading him to his replacement skull crusher.
It ups the whole moment because we always had the moment of him finding the hammer, but adding the ring into it.
Yeah, like magically leading him to it.
And again, I give our camera crew and Matt Weston a lot of credit too, because this was not a big room, and we just figured out a way to shoot all the angles in a way that makes it believable that we kill about 30 people in a relatively small space.
Well, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. The bad guys can't like hear him killing other bad guys just around the corner. But, like,
Exactly.
the whole thing of Santa having a hammer as his trademark weapon, I think, because like in the Game of Thrones books, like Robert Baratheon's trademark weapon was his hammer, and
Well,
we always
here-
wanted to see him whooping some ass with it.
Here we go. This is our sledge foo moment too. Which I'm like,
Again, Dom's score is so fucking great.
I remember it was actually Donna Langley, head of all of Universal, chairperson, who wanted a bigger Santa hero shot, and so we added this back into the cut after your director's screening.
All right, so this is the beginning of the biggest action scene in the film in a way.
I have to say, in actuality, that barn was very small and wasn't a barn, it was a garage, and that's where we had our craft services.
Well, in the original draft of the script, he fights like a bunch of guys in the barn and then fights a bunch of guys in the house.
Yeah,
And
he
then
sort
at
of
some
rampages
point-
to the house.
Yeah,
and
then it was
yeah.
at some point it was just like, what if the barn was just like an extra big?
I remember, I think that was one of your eyes, Tommy, of making it really his kill box, where it's like this is when he is in full control and locking everybody in there.
Yeah, I think we described him as like Batman in this, like in the Arkham games when you go into like Predator mode.
Well, it was Batman meets like Aliens, because that's the other homage here, where you
Yeah,
see all
the
the
video
security
screens going
cameras
out, yeah.
winking out.
Yeah, there was a whole big sequence outside and inside, and that also that was one of the first. We discussed it earlier as well, but one of the first things when I read it, like that, because at one point he takes one of the big guys and goes up the chimney. That should be a final kill.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
such a great idea. I love how you use that magic for a kill. Like, and getting to that, obviously, it plays so great with the crowd. The chimney kill.
Had to repurpose it.
Lightstone?
Yeah, because I
Remember-
think the gimmick was, in the original version, he fights everybody in the barn with the hammer, and then inside the house is when he starts using Christmas decorations.
Well, that's when he
Got
was doing and then he would pop out with the candy cane. That's like,
Yeah.
like that's where we started.
I mean,
using
the
candy.
candy cane gag was like part of our pitch.
Right.
A lot of the stuff that really made it in the movie was just
stuff to make
straight
great
from the
sex
pitch.
where you're
I
pitching
always love
to
this
laugh.
moment with Bert too.
Uh,
It's a no one's ever called that out in a movie before too.
This is one of those things where I'm surprised by what a big laugh this gets from
Okay,
the
well,
audience.
John's reaction
Yeah.
is so perfect too.
All right, so Brian Adams, Christmas time. This was a big Christmas song, obviously in the world, but in Norway, it was for some reason. You know, when I grew up, there was a radio show. It was every week, I think, or month, where the top 20 songs in the country radio play time, and this would come back every Christmas and hit #1, and so I heard it so many times. But originally, I didn't plan to use a song here at all. My pitch was like, I wanted. You know, the first 3 kills he did earlier. in the
Here's your
barn?
Raimi-inspired shot.
Yeah, but I want the whole sequence just to be brutal, fast, sound design, no music. And me and Jim started cutting it like that, and we started watching. It's like, oh shit, this is really violent.
Yeah,
this is brutal. So we said, let's try a song in here.
Yeah.
And it just made the scene.
Add a little irony.
Yeah.
Well, it's also been one of those scenes that people are surprised how far we go and how long it goes, and it's great. But I think that's the beauty of the movie. We go that way, go that far with the comedy,
aliens bit there.
go that far with the violence, and
I
then
love
really
this
go
bit
there with the
coming up
heart.
with the
too.
ice skates.
Yeah.
Again, a small idea that,
like,
that
oh, yeah,
I
here
pitched
we go.
JoJo, and then he just went crazy with it. Love this fight.
But just so, and again, the physicality of David being the perfect casting because he's
I mean, that was
he's
one-
just legitimately just bigger than all these aren't small people, but just gives Santa this mythic quality and just he was having a blast just brutalizing.
That's why
everybody.
David was so perfect
Right.
for it. I mean, we were thinking of him right from the get-go because we were like, Santa should be like, he's like big and strong more so than he is fast. You know, like think like Marv from Sin City.
Yeah, I think when the stunt guys and JoJo came up with this fighting style, it was like, okay, let's just base it on George Foreman in his 40s.
Yeah.
I think that's what and it really, like he's just a mean boxer more than anything. I'm not saying that George Foreman was mean, but
No, but Foreman, like, you know, he was able to fight for so long because he's still like
Punched
hit
so
harder
hard.
than
Yeah.
anybody.
There's no way
gotta have a
Tommy's gonna make a
snowblower.
movie without a snowblower.
This bit was great.
Well, originally we had Santa punch the person up to the roof and they fell into the snowblower.
Well, I think
Our very
originally we had him
original
as a
one is-
wood chipper, and we had him stuff one guy
Right.
into the wood chipper and then like turn it so like the blood would spray. in
Yes,
somebody else's
I'll
face.
cover everybody else's
Yeah, I
face.
feel like someone said that was too gross.
Yeah, we got some
at some
pushback
point.
on that.
I have to say this hammer.
I love
I
this.
don't know, it makes me laugh, but I feel bad. But I remember JoJo throwing this hammer at Shaw a few times and then slipping in the ice once. And again, it was something that seemed very easy, but took us way too long.
remember when I said, "Oh, let me do this,"
Right.
and I tried once and I just missed completely. You know what, JoJo, you keep doing it.
Wait, does he still call it a stocking stuffer?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
okay. It's
coming
This is
out.
always a great moment, too.
I think he said it when he's.
Oh, holy shit. Yeah.
Gertrude would never trust
I love the camera work in this scene, too, just to find a fresh way to shoot the family and add the tension.
Yeah, there's a lot of movie just in this one big room.
But again, that's the magic. I mean, like, we spent a lot of time in here, but You know, Tommy and Matt always had a really great plan to, you know, find different ways to shoot it and choreograph it just so it'd always feel fresh.
Unless you tell me where the money went. I did it! I moved the money.
Don't be an idiot. The money's
Well,
our only
my wife put
leverage.
the fucking gun to her head, so...
How'd you find out that we were coming,
I didn't. I was stealing it. Yeah, coincidence.
I always like that too. Just admitting, calling it out and be like, yes, we admit this. This is a giant coincidence in the movie, and we're not going to pretend it's not.
My mom would read the note with her whiskey in the morning and know what I had done.
For years, I have been telling you.
I really like this subtle score that Dom put here as well.
And you think the solution was to steal a bunch of it.
Well, it does sound stupid when you say it like that.
How can you do this right now? It's disgusting. After all that Mother has given us.
Come on, Alba. Everything she ever gave us, she made damn sure we knew she had the power to take right back. I have...
Yeah, really. Now I'm thinking about the thing that, because the movie stayed remarkably close to what we initially pitched. Kind of the one big change that changed from pitch to script, and then obviously even in the multiple drafts and just what got cut out was there used to be like a whole subplot all about Jason trying to steal the money.
Right.
I think that ended up being a wise thing to cut out.
Oh.
Spend more time with Santa.
Home Alone.
Everyone's wish fulfillment and favorites, the R-rated Home Alone sequence. I mean, we had a lot of fun designing this and just...
This is also always in the script, but we just, we just
amped it.
Ended up to 11.
Yeah.
And this is the one, it was a mix, you know, all your ideas, JoJo, Dave's, me, but this nail thing was something I had very clear in my mind. And I remember me and Jim cutting it.
Always kills.
It was just so fun finding the timing.
Well, this gets the biggest reaction.
Oh, yeah.
Of anything in the
because
movie
it's so
from the
simple, but
crowd.
just it's so visceral and
The
it's
effect
horrible.
looks really good too. The fact that you can see the nail. I remember, because you had this nail gag, and we added and she puts her hand on his head. Just one extra.
I remember rolling these bowling balls also became something that took a long time, which you actually did on your own, Tommy, and then did it quite effectively.
I hit her in the face a couple of times.
They were foam, for the record. Right.
I mean, so much of this was just because
everybody has 12 bowling balls in their attic. It was great.
Well, Home Alone, I loved Home Alone. I remember seeing it as a kid and thinking this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. Seeing it with all my cousins at Christmas time. But almost every gag in Home Alone would have killed both the wet bandits. That was the whole idea.
Well, it's horrible. I mean, he lights his head on fire. He has the heat. It burns his hand. He does awful
the crazy
things.
thing is that what we're doing to our characters is not even that much more extreme.
No, we just show that it would actually hurt you and you would
die. Yeah.
Oh, I love all this always plays so just the tension of the moment. And I remember, Tommy, you were very specific. You wanted Candy Cane to be the one that rolled that out. Oh. And this is the fall we mentioned of Andre having to do by himself, and he's not a stunt performer, and you nailed it.
But he is now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tommy.
Uh-oh.
And this is the same. We had two attic pieces.
Yeah, because there's the one that was really upstairs above the rest
Correct.
of the set, and then
So
the other one on the ground, right?
Correct. Yeah. There was a tight space, but we wanted to maximize. Oh yeah. And Leia did that stunt on her own, swinging on the bag, and she loved that. And that was the incoming we added later in ADR. We asked her to just give us something, any big yell, and the incoming was her own idea.
So gross.
Added that little squeak of CG blood on the head just to make it a little more gruesome.
This
Thank
is
you.
one of the
Danny.
things that I wish we did more with this one. We should have done something gnarlier on the feet here.
Instead of just lights.
Yeah.
But you said you regretted the socks on, and you're right. That's right.
Yeah, we should have had barbed wire or something, and then something even needle
razor
point.
blades or something.
Razor blades.
And I said, and I know that, hey, those are props and they're foam, but that weight is heavy. And I remember they did about 20 takes to get that hit right. Oh, yeah.
How did Santa get through the booby traps?
That's actually a really
They were
fun
already-
cutaway.
yeah.
He had as he walks all the same, he hurts himself. Damn it! Let's reshoot it.
He like notices the glue and like jumps up and grabs a rafter.
And
to
again,
swing
and
it over or something.
this is something we added later in the game too, of just having Santa be the one to really save her, and then to have this real tender moment, because we realized we didn't have this
Yeah, we needed that
emotional
line,
payoff, you know. Yeah.
I made booby traps like in the movie. It was so funny.
Again, like this is all in your script as well, but the fact that she doesn't really understand what she's been doing,
Yeah.
I just think is funny.
But I just loved it because they've had this moment over the walkies the whole time, but then we really wanted to make sure we had this really nice emotional reunion for them.
But yeah, that was like part of the idea of like Trudy basically killing these bad guys was that she kind of didn't realize.
Yeah, I think
like,
we used to even have a line where she was like, "They're gonna have such a bad headache." in
Well,
the
that's
morning."
it. Well,
because to her it's just Home Alone fun.
That's in the extended scenes of them walking out, and then she's like, "Is she sleeping?" He's like, "Oh yeah, she's
Yeah.
really tired," and then he just throws a towel over her dead body.
This always gets a gasp from the audience, where he just executes.
Well, this is like one real full-on brutal execution.
Yes, but she's also brutally murdered several
Yeah, yeah.
people
Oh, I
there.
mean-
She is very naughty. I mean,
Yeah.
she made her brother eat worms. Hey.
She murdered those poor waiters who just had no weapons.
No, the staff is
Yeah.
like they're really.
The money's hidden inside.
Was this manger set constructed or purchased?
And constructed, actually, it was a cost issue. There was more elaborate ones, but we were getting close to the end of the movie, and we had limited money left, so he came up with that design. He found this. There was actually a manger who made that like that, but a tiny model.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that for the money we have.
Wasn't there a
you had to
nativity
have enough
scene?
money to fill all those duffel bags with actual cash. It's a huge part of the budget.
Bert, everything's fine.
Okay.
I remember that nativity scene coming in and out too. Like, and that was
Yeah.
something that we.
Well, like how big that nativity fight, it kind of kept expanding and
Right.
contracting.
Well, yes, it used to be sort of huge, and we downsized it then, but I think it ended up in the perfect place. I always loved the music for this scene too.
And I'm gonna start with you.
No. Wait.
In this moment, if you're carefully listening, this is where it's revealed that Linda is actually an engineer, and that is her real job. Okay.
I say shoot him first. What?
No, don't shoot him. Don't shoot him first, and don't you.
A part of me when I watched this movie, and I always thought, we can never do it, obviously, in a studio movie, but I would have laughed so hard if we just shot them and left. You would think, like, you know they're gonna get away, but then he just shoots them and he walks out of the room.
Yeah, they're like pretending to argue to disarm the bad
Yeah.
guys. Bad boys routine. That always works in movies, but I wouldn't try it in real life. I don't think it would.
Yeah, it would have been surprising at least if we just shot him and left. But
That's for slapping you, motherfucker! This is for your dog!
Yeah, all the fire pokers and stuff everyone has next to
You
their
already
fireplace.
snuck in. That
Great-
was one of
great
the last thing we found was Edie going, "This is for your dumb fucking hat."
Is he dead?
again, sound team puts an amazing sound here.
Yeah.
Oh, that little squish. I always love it. Yeah.
Thanks, Linda.
Well, it's nice to do something as a family for a change.
Take that, Krampus.
He may have been stupid, but he was very, very hot.
It's true.
Trudy!
Mommy!
Oh, God, baby. Are you okay?
I'm okay, Mommy. This is my friend.
I always love that nose wrinkle that Leia did, and I always love this dude, like Mr. Claus. You found that what the fuck later. I kept at, there's got to be a funny line, got to be a line, but what the fuck is perfect.
I should get out of here. It's dangerous.
They took my husband and her grand.
Again, like this is always in the script, but the line that made me laugh when he says, "Thank you, Mr.
Or
Claus," but you
you
can
call me Santa. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it plays it so straight.
Mr. Claus was my father.
That's actually where we originally had Feliz Navidad, but then it just
Put
it's
it
in the
part
trailers. Yeah.
Put it in part 2.
Yeah, it is in one of the.
It's in the trailer. Yeah, it's in one
No,
of the TV
it was in
spots.
one of the trailers. That's not in the trailer anymore either.
It's in the It is in one of the.
It's in one of the.
It is one of the TV spots.
Oh,
I
really?
think.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember Alex wanting to be the guy jumping over these hay bales, wanting to do some more stunts, and I had a little physical comedy component.
But I just love all the hammer stuff. I love that we were like, Santa's trademark weapon is a sledgehammer, and no one even questioned it. Now it just is.
I did expect that for whatever reason it would get pulled out, so I was pleased when Tommy first got the script. I feel like you specifically mentioned liking the hammer.
Boom.
I was like, oh, good, the hammer's staying
I would
in.
say that snowball we got in very few takes. You know, oddly enough, that was Fong, one of our fight coordinators, just
I feel like
gunning
the
it.
snowball guy, that was something you were.
Oh yeah, well I was like,
fighting
we
for.
have to have a snowball, and now that's in the trailer too. I'm like, you have to have a snowball. I'm like, it has to be somewhere.
I know
And in my
this-
head, I
this
thought
is-
it would be gigantic, but I was like, all right, that's just a
This
really
gag here, I would say, it's not in the script, but when me and Jim cut it, it was like, because we couldn't, when we shot that leg break, we
Took
didn't
forever.
get it on the first time.
Right.
So we actually, when we cut it together, it's like, let's let him do it twice.
Yeah.
I was trying. That was also one of the things. We had like 12 people staring at the pro. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? Like, everyone's freezing to death.
And coming up now is a shot
Oh,
where
it's like that.
David
Or
runs
manger
into that
sled.
snow, and what you don't see is like, right about here, he falls face down into the snow. It was so deep.
And then I ran to help him, and then
Then
he
you
fell
fell.
on top of him and so made it worse.
Could have left that fall in the movie. Did you ever think about that? Leaving it in?
No, actually, we should have. Come to think of it.
Santa's cool now. You don't want him embarrassing himself.
Uh-oh. Here comes Finn.
And I think this would have been one of Finn's first films where
Yeah,
doing
he
more
was a
films.
fighter, wrestler, right?
Yeah, wrestler.
No, right? Yeah, but
trained to be a
MMA
UFC
or something like that. UFC.
Yeah. But again, I feel like he is from. Well, no, he's not even from Winnipeg, but he never felt cold. Never
Baby
complained
Jesus
of the cold. He
to
just-
the rescue.
Snowmobiles.
Yeah.
Coming up is the hill that we created.
Well, that's it. And we also debated this end a lot, and then just realized just wanting to get Santa on a sled again, just pulling another Christmas magic component.
There goes Joseph. Wasn't that his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joseph.
Just like the symbolism of it, taking Joseph's head off. I don't know what that means.
And this sledding hill we built. This was just piles and piles and piles of snow we brought in, which that's actually when the weather changed and it got very warm. This is the last thing we shot.
Did the actors do any of their own snowmobile driving?
David Harbour did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he had done some on the last season.
That
of
John,
Stranger
he's being
Things.
pulled behind like
Correct.
a camera truck.
Yeah, I remember our camera operator was just worried because David's like, you have to catch up with me. Basically, just.
Yeah, every time we were kind of a fight in this, but you just kind of make a list of what would be there, what Christmas-y stuff is around, and how can you use it to kill people.
Well, the icicle kill used to be, remember that was the tinsel on the roof originally, like way back when. There was some version
Yeah,
of
that
it.
first fight, the very first fight was
'Cause,
on.
yeah, I forgot they were on.
Tinsel
They ended up on
chased
the
them up to
roof.
the
Yes,
and then they fell off
I just
the roof
realized now-
together.
and then we moved to
70% of this commentary track is us talking about what used to be. So,
hey, that's interesting.
I guess so.
Yeah. I remember that icicle is
blood
also
is so
very
gross,
tricky to
man.
shoot.
Remember,
We actually-
email Guy Danella with any comments.
Yep.
Very gross blood.
We shot those separately. We had the stab. The bleeding we did later on the stage. Because wait, wasn't it on the wrong side, Tommy? Is that why we had to do it? Like something like that.
It was just too cold to.
And since this is a real Christmas movie, the parents have to get back together at the end. That's
we
Christmas
added a
movie.
little flair here.
Oh yeah.
This is Matt Weston holding a flashlight next to the camera.
The J.J.
Yeah,
Abrams
this is how
method.
J.J. Abrams does it.
I thought this was a really emotional, good payoff of Trudy's wish coming true.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that got a round of applause at
Oh, yeah.
New York Comic
It was
Con.
funny, yeah. This woman was sitting behind me. Kiss him!
Yeah.
I remember we were shooting this, and I was telling John that, yeah, you're going to be in front of this tree, what do you call it, tree stump? He's like, what? It's like Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Exactly like Looney Tunes. That's what I wanted.
Well, then that was a big thing we debated. It was like, no, let's have him a stump. That was a CG Santa, beautifully done by Crafty Apes. into a stage. Now we're on the stage for the interior
There was so
portion.
much complaining about people being cold, so we had to build this thing on stage.
Also, it's funny too sometimes, and it's good if everyone can get on board to not overthink things. Because I remember when we initially were, moving the big fireplace kill from a random goon inside the house to Scrooge at the end. But it was also like, why would there be this like dilapidated house?
Oh yeah. Oh,
on
the root.
ground?
Yes,
And
on
it was
these
just like,
very rich
whatever.
people's rounds. Yeah, these.
I mean, there used to be like whatever, where like some the Houndmaster lived
Yeah.
in the olden days or
It's a
whatever.
very
This is,
nice
this is
moment
old
coming up.
money.
I love
this
this.
bit here.
The way he plays this is so
Yeah.
good.
Johnny's so good here.
Finally believing.
I love the, and you guys came up
Broke
with
his
that.
mother's
Broke his
heart.
mother's heart. It's just so basic, but so nice.
You're him.
And John's playing this so real.
Yeah.
I think this was John's last date when we shot all this stuff. right?
Yeah.
What I've
It
been
was.
trying to tell you.
The real goddamn Santa Claus.
God damn, they're good. These actors are good.
Yeah.
I think my whole shitty life's built up to this moment. Because when I kill you,
Our final fight coming up.
holiday finally ends.
Yeah, this all turned out great.
That's one of those nice movies. We had a little stunt guy just stood there to throw it up to him. I always love those little moments.
Well, we were so excited when you told us that Leguizamo was going to play this part because in our minds it's like, yeah, get the kind of guy you would have in the straight action movie version of this that isn't about Santa Claus.
I was like that tread shot. That was Tommy and the editor finding a cheat. That was some repurposed shot from outside of Santa revving the engine. We did blow up that shack. That was a big fun gag.
Like you built the shack and then blew it up. That wasn't a pre-existing shack.
Correct.
Yeah.
Originally, it was in the slightly wrong place.
And then this fireplace, this dilapidated fireplace, was a build as well.
Correct.
And Dom's score coming in.
And then it was the David Leitch idea. Wanted to move. Let's have this final fight on ice, just to honestly mix it
Ice
up.
with fire.
Fire and ice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a poem.
Yeah.
But it's
Saga one.
like there's something just like having a bunch of fire around like makes it the climax of your movie, you know?
Oh, yeah. A ring of fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when did Scrooge put these crampons on his boots? That's my
Right.
question.
They were all hey, easy. Logic police. Again, yeah, the score was so epic.
And yeah, we have complained about it in the past, but these days were so cold.
Right.
It was so cold one of these days, we had to stop shooting because the oil in the dolly froze.
Right.
The camera gear. All right, let's just get out of here. That was too cold.
We're
Yeah.
on
No CG breath here. That's all real.
riding
is
in
a
the
great bit,
shuttle
this,
one day on set, and our driver was like bragging about the time that it was colder in Winnipeg than it was on Mars,
Right.
which we looked up, and it's true.
Poor Santa.
Yeah, he's really taking a beating here. Like this hand thing is so brutal.
Oh yeah.
But the one thing I wish that when he comes back to life later, that he like held up his hand and like looked at it and showed that it's okay now.
Yeah,
Would have been a
you
big
get it.
VFX shot.
Love this
Nice
moment.
VFX shot.
Last Christmas echoing what Santa said in the beginning. Dramatic push in. Music stop.
None of you still believe.
Epic kill time.
So gross.
Oh, so
I just
good.
love the morbid, the laugh so much. That was David again adding that. You think it's so funny that it's just a torso laugh.
Right.
It's the funniest thing you ever seen.
That's when it actually started snowing for real. That was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it was not supposed to snow this whole moment when Santa is dying coming up, but it started snowing when it was up on the chimney. So then we just started the snow
Perfect.
machines.
That was also a great
Yeah, it's
fall.
great.
We got that take. I think that was one take too.
That was 2 takes. We used the first
fall,
one. Yeah.
yeah.
Thorpe. Gertrude's here.
Damn right it does.
Family family followed on the snowmobiles.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Santa! No, Santa.
Oh, no.
So this moment was always a big part of the pitch right from the beginning, too. I remember pitching it to David Leitch the first time we met him for lunch. And we were like almost didn't pitch this part because we were like, is this too cheesy? But as with almost everything that we almost didn't pitch him, then he was like, no, I love it. Like the Viking backstory, this like bringing Santa back to life and burning the money and stuff. And then it carried all the way through. Although the burning the money kind of went away and came back several times.
Right.
I've felt cold in years. We need to keep him warm.
All the fires are going out. We need to find something.
I mean, even where this happened, which actually, well, now I'm going to do it again. Remember that Santa originally died up at the nativity scene, and then they brought him back to life, and then he popped in the climax, fought Scrooge.
So we figured
like,
the Christmas spirit, was like Popeye getting his spinach, and that gave him like the
extra
final
boost.
bit of juice to go take care of business.
I always wondered why Popeye, why spinach?
I mean,
it probably had to be who had the biggest market share of spinach at the time. Just like, I'm going to make a boom, baby. They probably made Popeye.
So weird, spinach of all things.
Like a Rockefeller move or something.
Well, it was like, we don't need to get into the history of Popeye. But that wasn't originally a huge part of Popeye.
We don't need to, but I'm going to.
That was like when they made it into an animated show that it became such a thing.
This was such beautiful work between Leia and David. Just, again, finding this real intimacy and emotion in the freezing cold. And being a child witnessing Santa die literally in front of you, that'd be a little traumatic.
Yeah.
Just look-wise, I love the look of the scene. I mean, the blue, we went for a certain type of blue with a little bit of green hue to it, and it mixes so well with the white snow and the fire.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Billowing breath.
You see here, the Christmas songs coming in now? Yeah. Dom used it so well in the score, I thought, in the right places.
Constantly just kind of weaving in the little Easter egg riffs of classic Christmas carols.
The real Santa, he is. And I still believe in him. I'll always believe in you, Santa.
Are you crying?
No. I'm fine. Shut up.
He saved Trudy. He saved.
It's like that speckle of blood that's on her hat too.
What's realer than that?
There's a lot of blood. You're not going to be able to get that out. Cashmere? No.
Then maybe. I believe in it.
Again, big shout out to our costume team, Laura DeLuca too. They had great fashion. They really got dressed up quite nice as they ran out.
Have you forgotten anybody that we got to give shout outs to? Paul, our first AD.
Oh yeah, Paul Berry. The general, our first AD. I mean, he really kept us going on track because it was just not easy, and we were constantly changing the schedule and constantly chasing. So, I mean, he did a fantastic job and honestly kept such a level head and a fun set. So,
yeah,
kudos.
And producers.
When Paul, you don't when you don't listen to this someday, but remember, somebody can tell you that we thanked you and we love you. So.
David, Kelly.
David Leitch, Kelly, McCormick, and Kelly was actually on this scene. She had a lot of input on the dying scenes. And she knew obviously like we all did the Santa Trudy, how important it was, and that this scene plays as strongly as it could.
This was
that whole believing in him, bringing him back to life, and like belief being the source of his magic. I mean, like.
I always loved that line too. You brought me back from the dead.
Yeah,
so we'll call it.
But like it was from the Peter Pan play when all the kids in the audience have to clap to bring Tinkerbell back to life. So.
This was a big Kelly note on the sound side too, just giving all the reindeer individual snorts and personalities too. But again, this is all David really. He was performing against nothing. There were sticks in the ground. We shot these reindeers in Calgary and CG comped them in later, but
really,
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's why they look beautiful because they're real. But he was just hilarious working off nothing, just in riffing and just going for it.
I just love his shift in mood here.
Yeah.
My sack. My spare. You went home and you got my spare sack?
Well, because originally Mrs. Claus showed up with all this sort of stuff, and then now we're gonna save her, maybe for a sequel. and that is a full CG reindeer. We had was basically like a table and a piece of fur on top of it for him to hug.
Movie magic.
And a sleigh, people noticing, obviously, it's the front part of a boat, Viking boat, that he made into a sleigh with the Viking
Yeah, I love
runes
that
and the
detail.
dragon.
That is my
there.
beautiful penmanship. No, it's not, because I write like a child.
Skull Crusher is there.
Yeah, but Sleigh's all practical build. I love this moment, yeah. This is where I get emo. This is where the tears well up for me.
This is goodbye. I gotta go.
Do you have to?
It's Christmas Eve, and there's a lot of boys and girls.
Every good Christmas adventure has to end with Santa going off to complete his rounds.
Yeah.
But if this was like an episode of SpongeBob or whatever, it'd be like, SpongeBob, Patrick, you can come and help me, you know?
Yeah, and this scene again is just such another reminder why David's so perfect for it. I mean, just had such the range to pull this off, do the insane action and be the threatening, have the humor, but just all this warmth. It's just perfect. Beautiful Christmas Hallmark moment with Santa covered in blood. Just wielding a warhammer.
A little blood on her scarf, too.
And then, Tommy, you had a very specific vision for these reindeers, almost like that they were swimming in unison. Which
Yeah, when they were going directly up.
Right.
I just try to give them something different. I love this final shot. And of course, this is where, I mean, the goal was always, from the first time I read the script to the final day of mixing this film, that when you leave a theater, you should have that Christmas feeling in your body. You walk out with a smile on your face and you're ready for Christmas. So I think this shot just sells it in such a great way. And of course, it leads into the best Christmas song ever made, Slade. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the movie. Hopefully this is a new Christmas classic and people will...
This is your 10th time listening to the commentary for all the Easter eggs. I did request for them to make my name bleed. That I did. Oh, and I'll give big shout out to our executive producer / line producer, Mark Fisher, who again did a fantastic job keeping us on the rails and on budget.
Yeah.
But was always a great
Jim
partner.
Page, editor extraordinaire.
Who you'd worked with previously.
Yeah, Hansel and Gretel. He also cut Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
David Harbour.
Johnny Legs.
So we got a little bit of Bert coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there really are like 10 different ways you could pronounce Cam's last name. I don't know.
That's my final thought.
Andre Erickson, Mike Douglas.
And great job. And casting Mary Venucci was fantastic. And we really did a great range of big names and up-and-coming names and really constantly have great ideas and was very supportive. So thank you, Mary. And I love this scene we shot actually in broad daylight. So that's why we moved it for the post.
You know, see this guy?
And we actually had wrapped. We had wrapped for the day. And they demanded. I said, no, we will shoot it. We have to. I guess my love for Bert once again shining through. I guess big shout out to UPM Brandy as well, who went. She led the skeleton crew in Calgary to shoot the reindeer.
Paul.
Jojo.
Our second AD Reed, who always been very funny.
Big shout out to
and
everybody coming up in the end credit.
Yeah.
We hope you at home
randomly
are having a
yelling
Merry
out
Christmas
names.
or a Merry whatever other time of year you might be watching this.
Yeah, when does the Blu-ray come out? I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, we should mention that. Well, they already bought it.
No, I just want to be like.
Had the movies opened? Was it successful? I hope so.
I'm going to be listening to this commentary in like June.
Right.
Oh, by the way, this is something that Dom made for a potential song to be used at the Frosty fight. But we ended up using Mamacita or Donde Está Santa Claus.
I know what we should close on. Tommy, what's your favorite scene?
I don't really. It's hard to say.
What's your favorite kill?
I think the lift up with Andre is really funny with the nail and all that stuff. I love that.
Great work, Shmeen. A camera operator. Josh, favorite kill or favorite scene?
I just like, as Pat mentioned, the candy cane was such an important part of our pitch, and at various times in the script, it kind of was getting downplayed to almost a throwaway thing. So
Then we brought it back.
Yeah,
with a
brought it back
vengeance.
with a vengeance. So that makes me happy to see.
Pat?
I love that the full decapitation that happens in the
Ice
barn
skate.
fight. It's so ridiculous.
Is there one line that either of you are surprised that was always in the first draft that you're surprised lasted the whole way? I guess other than Bertrude.
Definitely, Bertrude is the one that pops out in my mind. Single line.
I mean, the bit at Beverly's intro where she's just reaming someone on the phone and then ends with "Merry Christmas to you, Senator."
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say my favorite scene is still when David comes through the chimney for the first time. I don't know why. I just love all the weird subtleness and just sort of humor. It's just like, I don't know. It's just find it perfect. I just think he sets the stage for Santa in such a great way. I don't know. What is my favorite kill? Jeez. I think it might be the chimney. I always loved that because, again, I loved it in the script when it was like the big guy who gets stabbed too many times because, well, it comes out of nowhere. And I think I loved that in the script and then saving it for the final kill because people are not seeing that. They're not going to see that coming. And I think that's why it gets such a crazy reaction. And also the cannon of blood. That
I
comes
mean,
out
that's a
too.
kill that only Santa could do. Like, that's not, you couldn't
Right.
put that in any other action movie.
Yeah. Well, we hope you cried. We hope you laughed and hopefully screamed at the screen and had a hell of a time and that you've watched it multiple times by now. And hopefully we're developing a sequel and can keep it going.
Shit, there's oboe music in this movie.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. I hope you had fun. I hope. I'm done hoping.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Yeah, I was gonna
or
say.
I don't know. It's so hard these days.
No matter what time of year it is.
There's always a
Merry
little
Christmas.
Christmas.
Just remember Santa's watching you.
magic float.
Naughty or nice, he's coming back next year. There was an alternate ending that's in the deleted scenes that I begged to keep bringing it back, and Tommy kept refusing. I mean, I guess this will probably be the only time I watch the full credits. It's great.
Special thanks to Sean Hall, Tom Ringdahl there. We used to do a
Show with that.
TV show with them back in Minnesota when we were teenagers.
And my wife snuck in there last name.
We did not do a
Camilla.
TV show
Nope.
with your wife.
No,
All right.
before 10.
Let's get out of here. Let's get some,
All
get some
right.
sushi.
Woo!
All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Right.